Hello? Can you guys hear me? Okay, I'm going to get started. So good afternoon. My name is Vladi. I'm the founder of METL, and today we're going to talk about hashing banking transactions on chain. But before I do that, let's talk about a history of money. So at the beginning of time, people have bartered, right? So you had an orange, the other one person had an apple, and you exchanged that. Then the spices came into the picture, and that was used as the money exchange. And then you had gold bars. Gold bars were heavy. They were not really comfortable to be carried around. So people stored them in churches and temples. So priest was your first banker. And the priest would give you IOU, and those IOU receipts would be used as a monetary exchange. By the 18th century, the government would allow the banks to actually have brick and mortar buildings. Medici was the first bank, one of the first banks in Europe. And then digital banking comes in, and in 1994, Stanford Credit Union gets the first digital site. So this is your first online banking. And then, of course, 2009, Satoshi's white paper, blockchain is born. So what type of money do you want? So there are 4 functions of money. Anybody here knows the functions of money? Who wants to venture?
Yeah, the unit of account, a store of value, and
Medium of exchange, exactly. There is also a 4th one. So the 4th one is system of control. And nobody talks about that one, but it's actually there, right? So the first 3 were around for centuries, right? But then the last one happened recently. So in 1970, Richard Nixon signed Bank Secrecy Act, and he turned money into system of control. Now, the system of control, it attempts to use money as a political tool, and it controls who can send it, who can receive it, who can store it, and creates complete financial surveillance worldwide, complete and total control. Now, this change happens 50 years ago, and it percolates throughout the world. So Richard Nixon deputized financial system and created it into law enforcement. So law enforcement is beyond borders, beyond political spectrum. Now, a cop can confiscate your money. A judge can sign a warrant and seize your bank accounts, and banks can do both. Now, no authorization necessary from anybody. This can happen to anybody. Now, the money as a system of control supersedes all the other functions, right? Now, how many people are real accredited investors? Not a lot, right? There's a very small percentage. So where is finance, right? We are basically having 2 billion people that are unbanked. And of those that are banked, there are tiers, right? So basically not just individuals that are getting cut off from the systems, you're actually having entities being cut off of the systems. So everybody knows what an OFAC is, right? So it's an Office of Foreign Affairs and Assets of Control. They have blacklists. Those lists have entities that American citizens cannot transact with. So I understand if this would be FBI most wanted list, people that are wanted for crazy crimes, right? This would be understandable. However, we have whole countries on that list. We have a country of Iran, for example, which is 80 million people, and it's illegal for any American to do any transactions or any business with them. So remember those brave Iranian women, right? They were fighting for their liberty. If you want to support them, you cannot use a banking system to send them any money, but you can send them Bitcoin. So welcome to the dawn of cryptocurrency. So what does the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin give us? Borderless access, censorship resistance, medium of exchange, store of value, one date's unit of account, neutrality, and openness. And what it does not give us, there is no control, right? And that's why we're here. So when we talk about banks today, is your money really safe at the bank? Who are the banks really insuring? Can the Fed really prevent the bank run? And of course, like you guys are watching what's happening with the banks and all the bank runs, and they're like again on the news, there are more regional banks that are basically on the brink of collapse. So today, all the financial intermediaries are regulated under numerous government entities, right? So anybody operating within the US, you must apply with the Bank Secrecy Act. You have to have AML. You have to have all the controls, all the KYC implemented, right? So this kind of endangers because all of this information is sitting in centralized systems, right? And if it gets hacked or there's a rogue employee who decides to use information, this is actually up for grabs, in other words. Regulators don't see that as a conflict of interest. They believe that we should trust them because they're government, right? We can trust them with their personal information. So, and again, when you're thinking about it, if you go back to, I come from former Soviet Union, so I know KGB. They also supposedly meant well. So this is very similar to that. Now, but we are sovereign individuals, right? And maybe, I mean, we do live in an allegedly free society, and maybe we want to opt out from that system, right? My personal experience before I entered the world of cryptocurrency and blockchain, before 2017, I worked on Wall Street. So I worked for AIG. I was actually called in to consolidate centers of excellence right after the 2008 financial crisis under the Ben Moshe. Obama administration promised $80 billion as a bailout money for AIG. AIG received 150 something, and they paid back only 2. Okay? These are the numbers. I don't know if anybody looked into that, but these are the numbers. Now, if we want to opt out of the golden gate of the banking system, we as individuals have 2 choices. You have voice and you have exit. Voice gives you a right to go and demonstrate. Voice gives you a right to go become a politician, run for Congress, and try to change the system within. Exit. You can opt out, right? The borders have been erected for centuries. Borders are trying to keep people in. It's hard to exit. It's hard to immigrate. It's hard to colonize for a reason. But what if the exit is not a physical exit? What if it's a virtual one? So what are the regulators today doing? They're not trying to work with us, right? They're trying to cut off the exits, right? Fiat gateways, exchanges, whatever they are. That's what's happening in the US right now. So here at METL, we're trying to help you exit. So we are the first infrastructure in US that provides native EVM bridge from banking rails to smart contracts. That's number 1. Number 2, we're not custodians. So all the users that are using the system, they have to self-custody. And we are exempt from money transmitter law. So we do have a very creative and interesting technology that was created specifically that the user is an issuer. And unless the US government says a user needs to register with FinCEN and become a financial institution, our technology will be exempt. So let's talk about actual details. So hashing banking transactions on chain is a critical piece of how we connect from the banking rails to the smart contract. So as you probably know, banking data is closed, right? You cannot access it without API key, without the approvals. You gotta get through KYB, due diligence, right? So what we're doing is we are reading the banking transactions and we're putting it on chain. However, because it's on chain, it has to be secure, right? It has to be private. So we're using zero knowledge to hash the transactions. And then we're using MPC nodes to read the transactions. So MPCs that are basically approved and have the keys can read and execute on behalf of the user. So that's fundamentally how we're different. And our hashing of the transactions is actually on the Avalanche subnet. That's what the subnet is used for. And then because we're on a subnet and MPC reads from there, we can go to any chain. We're really agnostic. I mean, we're saying we're EVM agnostic, we're really VM agnostic. Right now, we just have solutions for EVMs out of the box. And one product that we also have that we rolled out in November of last year is self-hosting basically self-hosted node, and you can do self-directed staking, self-hosted staking into an Avalanche smart contract. So if you are to purchase AVAX, instead of holding it in your multisig or holding it in your Web3 wallet, you can just put it in the custody of the smart contract of Avalanche and keep it on the node and let it make some yield. So this solution, again, non-custodial, anybody can do this. Tax accountants are advising us this could be used for the tax purposes as self-directed IRA. We are using Trader Joe liquidity pools for swaps, but you don't have to leave our application. So everything is done within the METL app. So any platform that needs to build their own fiat gateway in US can potentially use as an integrator, similar as you would do Stripe. It's just if you want EVM native integration, if you want non-custodial accounts, that's basically where we come in. And that's all I have. If you guys are interested to learn more about METL, see how you can work with us, here's my contact information, and I'll take any questions.
I don't know much about blockchain. I don't know about macro and stuff. You're talking about moving the rails to the banking system. What happened with all these like crypto-friendly funds that all fail? Is that like a signal from the US government or regulators that you don't want crypto? Or
Well, you asked.
trying to go somewhere else? I mean, what? I'm sorry, I'm very ignorant about it.
It's okay. You're asking a couple of questions. You're asking about what's happening with those banks who are crypto-friendly, what's happening with regulation.
No, I just want to know your view.
So with us, we work with a bank that's operational and there are no issues. Okay, we're hopeful that nothing will really happen to it. However, we are working with one bank at the moment. We are speaking to a few banks where we could pilot this in the sandbox. So there are a few other banks that are interested to use this, because our goal is to be bank agnostic and EVM agnostic and really be that bridge. Because potentially our solution could be offered to any customer who uses online banking and they just log into the online banking and say, hey, I want to get some crypto and I want to stake, for example, or I just want to get and hold. So that's really the goal, so that you can do this from the online banking application on your, I don't know, mobile device or desktop. That's the goal. So we are constantly talking to banks and we're constantly trying to work with them because, again, we're not a financial solution, we're a technology solution. So there's no reason why they would not be interested in working with us. I do believe that the regulators that we have today are trying to kill crypto. They're not trying to work. Gary Gensler is not trying to work with us. Elizabeth Warren is not trying to work with us. Fortunately, there are regulators that do want to work with crypto and they see this as an innovation opportunity. They don't want to kill it. There are multiple committees. If you've been following, I'm sure you've seen them. So I think we're very hopeful on that. There's also a lot of grassroots efforts that are happening, working with the local congressmen of specific states and districts. So that's happening. I personally work with one in Tennessee. And I know there's a lot of efforts that are happening beyond that. And there's a lot of governors and senators that are pro-crypto and want to work because they see it as another wave of fintech, basically, or extension of fintech. So I'm doubtful that it will completely shutter. So, but again, anything can happen. Go ahead.
So I'm trying to understand exactly what the product use case is. Where you have no. Your technology is a protocol that has no prejudice as to fractional banking, the derivative asset. You're fundamentally just providing rails for any financial institution to bring their transactions on chain, and in so doing allows your customer to also stake and avail themselves to the yields that we have in the crypto space, correct?
Correct.
So this works in any jurisdiction with any financial institution of any kind, pursuant to whatever those jurisdictional regulations are, as long as you're allowed to do this. But you could sell this infrastructure to anybody, anywhere in the world, correct?
Correct.
So what's your goal with this infrastructure? Is the goal to bring this to U.S. institutions first, or to global institutions, or to crypto institutions that are moving into TradFi, or TradFi that's moving into crypto?
I would say it's a mixed bag. Right now, we're working with platforms who just want to have a fiat gateway that takes, I don't know, a couple of lines of code to put into their front end. Also, it doesn't cost them to do anything. They also can make, we do rev share with some of our customers. So that's like step number one. Number two is to work with banks. Because we do have a regulatory clearance in US, it's US first. However, we're starting to talk to some European and Asian banks as well.
Okay, can you please speak with me when you're done here today for transactions bringing fiat on-chain for real estate transactions in the United States with banking partners?
We're already working with one company. You know Propi?
Of course.
Okay, so we're...
They're one of our competitors, actually.
Oh, I see. Okay, so yeah, we're in the talks right now to do some transactions with them.
Great.
Yeah.
Hello. So I just wanted to get the flow of how the money comes in correctly with you. You mentioned something about another solution as opposed to Stripe, and the jurisdiction that you guys are able to get with your company. For example, if there was a company set up in Nevis that would not work with Stripe, would you guys be able to facilitate the transactions coming through from a subscription user base to work with the Nevis banking jurisdiction?
Are you asking if we can work with Stripe or replace Stripe?
Replace Stripe.
Yes, that's the goal. Because Stripe is not native to EVM. Stripe also charges 3% right now. I think that's the lowest.
Yeah.
We're less than 1%.
Yeah. So, for example, if I have a user base of 500,000 users paying a certain amount per month, we can utilize you guys to put that through the system and work with our Nevis banking structure.
Correct, and you can get volume discounts as well.
Yeah, could I please speak to you after this as well also? That'd be
Sure.
great. Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, guys, thank you for your time.